And we're live. That is the face of a man who's had enough of seeing a new hotel every 3 days. Andy Lindahl, Scott Hastings with you. You're in New York. Is it at least, I don't know. I feel bad asking you. How long? We'll talk Avs, guys. We're going to jump into the Avs because I got some thoughts. How many times you been to New York? You got drafted by New York. You got drafted by the Knicks. I don't think people realize that.
Yeah.
Knicks were the team that drafted you.
Yeah.
So for some people, like, New York's got to be like one of the coolest destinations you can go to on a road trip, right? For you, you're probably like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, you know what? It's funny because I was doing the show, Dave, and Darren, what are you going to do? Where are you going to go tonight? I go, I'm going to stay in my room. I'm going to lift weights. I'm going to get a Joe's Pizza. What do you want me to do? So, yeah, no, it's beautiful. It's cool. Whatever. been there, done that. I've seen enough.
Is there, like, what's the best time to go there? Because I feel like the Nuggets never go to New York late. You guys are always going to New York, like either December or January. I feel like it's maybe even one time in November. I feel like you guys always get like a Sunday. At least it's on a Wednesday this time. I feel like New York's been one of those hot Sunday 11 o'clock in the morning games or something like that. Wouldn't New York be better in the spring than right now in the stupid middle of winter?
And maybe we'll see them in June, the finals.
Well, all right. Or maybe you won't if you don't fix the three-point shooting.
If you watch the other night, maybe we won't. I would say this. I think it's always cool during Christmas time. It's cold as snot, but if you bucket list should be down to go see Rockefeller Center and see the big tree and the ice rink. Everybody's got to do that once. I've spent New Year's on Times Square one year. My rookie year, actually, we came downtown and got to see the ball drop a block or so in front of us and all that stuff. Haven't spent much time in the summertime. One year we had the league meetings used to be in New York, and we'd come here in like August or something like that, late July. But yeah, I mean, New York's fine. I got an unbelievable view. You can't really see it now because of the glare on the window, but I can look straight out my window and see the Freedom Tower, which replaced the Twin Towers. Empire State Building is just a handful of blocks away. So we're down in an area, kind of a cool area, but yeah, whatever.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk a little Avs hockey. Let's get on to that for the moment. Now it was an ESPN Plus game. You said you thought about watching it. What was the final decision there?
I watched it till it was 3-1. Then I went, yep, okay, that's enough for me. And then I just checked in. Avs lose 5-2. And I went, dude, I missed a little something.
Well, so the Avs thought they'd got it tied 2-2.
Well, when they had the Patrick Wall, I felt like maybe, you ought to give us a little love from the time spent here as a player. And won the challenge. That was a soft win of a challenge, Mike.
Yeah, man, it was. Look, here the NHL needs to, like the NFL needs to better define pass interference so it's not so up to the ref's discretion. You got to make some better definitions on goalie interference because by the law, by the rule book, they can call it. But too many times they don't call it like that, And it drives me nuts because, now, unfortunately, the Avs, the dam broke. They gave up another legit goal. The fifth goal was an empty netter, as you can probably imagine. Blackwood, who probably didn't have his best game as an Avs tonight, got fooled on the fourth goal, but it went off Girard. I'm back to my dude. I know half you guys love Sam Girard. You got to get a more physical defensive presence in there. And Girard on the third goal, you may have seen, is help us on the crease, gets pushed off of, and has no chance of moving the guy out of the way. He just pushes off Girard, goes and gets the rebound. Bang, goal. This team is not my concern after watching tonight. I just, they were trying to get bodies in front of the net, which is good. They shot a lot of shots. They kept talking about how the Islanders are one of the hottest teams in hockey. So maybe this is one where you just got to accept you went into their barn. They're on a heater, and it was a bad time for you to catch them. But, Scotty, this looked a little, and I know you didn't get a chance to see it because the T-Wolves and Nuggets were started playing before the game was over. This game felt a little too much like Boston, where the Avs had a whole lot of puck possession time and a whole lot of pretty pass possessions, but it ain't resulting in goals.
Well, that's what the second period was. I mean, they dominated the puck in their zone. I am interested with the Nuski. How you say it? The Nuski?
Natchez.
Natchez.
You got to get
Um,
Nichushkin out of your mind. Natchez.
I know Natchez. I'm intrigued by his speed, his puck handling. He's kind of fun. They could have some fun lines with that. And then the goal they took away with the interference. I mean, they had bodies in front of the net. What you want to do, what you and I have talked about on the show a bunch.
But
But
guess
yeah,
who it was?
they don't have any size. They really
No.
don't have any size, and they don't have any size defensively. The speed difference between the first, maybe the second line, and 3 and 4 is like, I mean, it's like if you're gonna ride your grandpa's Model A in the Indy 500, you know, it might make it around the track, but it ain't gonna do much. So I don't know. I haven't been able to watch them a lot lately. I thought they played okay. You know, starting the third period. You're feeling pretty good. They're doing okay. Here we go. And then they score that goal, and then all of a sudden you get a goal taken away. I never like it when you get the emotion of tying a game up, and then the referees say no, no, no. I really think that deflates the team a little bit.
Here's what I think you bring up as it's important, though. You talked about how the speed in the second and third line aren't what they used to be, and you're not wrong. Now the Roaring 20 line is finally back together with Ross Colton and Miles Wood and Logan O'Connor, and so hopefully they'll get their chemistry back and they'll get going. I do think part of what the Avs need is a good month of nobody getting hurt and just trying to get right. But I'm going to tell you, so I got a couple of hot takes. First off, this ain't even a hot take, dude. You brought it up. You're not the fast team, and I said this on the show the other day. You are not the speed team that you were when you won the Cup. You're just not, okay? You are the Denver. The 22 Cup team was the 2013 Denver Broncos that had the most amazing offense in all the NFL, and even with 17 games and all that, still has not been caught by modern teams. That's how good that 2013 offense was. That's how good the 2022 Colorado Avalanche offense was. They rolled 3 lines deep. The fourth line could get you 2. There was speed all over the place. They were whooping teams 7-1. They'd crush you in one period with you getting no hope. That's not what this team is. Even when Val comes back, that's not what this team is. So to me, you've got to accept, you got to play some uglier hockey. They said it 3 times tonight. That Ryan Callahan guy, I think it was Ryan Callahan, the color commentator with Butchergross, kept saying this is a tough physical hockey game. Well, you lost 5-2. That's what the playoffs are, man. You can't keep losing tough physical hockey games. So I think you got to get. I think they need to make a couple more moves. You need some trades to work out too. They brought up how they may be looking for yet another center because Middlestat hasn't been what they hoped that he would be. A guy you just gave up Bo Byram for. Like, to me, it's fine. I guess you're going to trade Bo Byram. You had to get that right. If you're going to be getting rid of or looking for somebody else to take Middlestat's place, you need to get that trade right, and that's a problem. That's a problem.
I give McFarland and Sackett credit from this. They're not afraid to make moves,
and they need to.
And I like a front office not afraid to make moves. The one thing that they struggle is what you're talking about, that they've not adjusted. The league adjusted their speed a little bit, and a lot of teams have added speed and size. Denver's fast. The Avalanche are fast, but there's really no size across that board.
Not with Gabe and Nichushkin out, no. And now Rantanen's gone. Now, look, Rantanen, you and I talked about it when we were, we always catch up after my show. Rantanen didn't always play as big as he was, and that frustrated me too. But they don't have a lot of size right now. Now, Colton was out there trying to get physical. Wood could get physical. How about this? I'm going to tell you something else, and maybe you eventually put it all back together. But I feel like right now, Marty Necas and Nathan MacKinnon are kind of trying to do the same thing. Like, Marty Necas feels like he's used to setting up other guys the way MacKinnon is, right? And I wonder, should you play MacKinnon with Druin and Leckie and let Necas go to the second line? I understand you traded because you wanted the one big one for the other big one, and I've reading that Necas is an incredibly gifted scorer, but he's yet to score a goal for us in the 3 games that he's been here. But I'm just telling you, Scotty, there's too many times where it's like, I think Nate just feels like he's setting Nate up and Nate gives it back to him. I just don't know. And again, this may come with chemistry. It's been 3 games. Nate just hasn't even set foot in Denver yet, his new hometown. Doesn't even have an apartment, as they kept talking about.
Right,
He's probably going to be living in a hotel, but I'm not sure they're the right pairing on the same line together. And then this way you could spread your scoring out if you chose to.
Well, yeah, I don't disagree with that. And then when you got a power play or anything like that, maybe you can mix them up and get them on the same line.
Put them together on the top unit. But
yeah, and sometimes situationally you can put them in there. Maybe you get them in together doing some stuff. But no, I'm with you. I'm not so sure that you wouldn't do. I think you got to try a bunch of stuff, man. This feels like to me is just a good hockey team, but not special. That's what it feels like to me right now.
I would agree, because they're missing stuff. They need we're gonna bang the drum again. They need some more big defensemen. They need people that move people out of the way. They don't have a lot of that,
right.
And I don't think they got a lot. I don't know if that Shillington guy, if he comes back, maybe he'll prove to be a little bit more of that. But again, you've lost Jack Johnson, you've lost Eric Johnson the last couple of years. You never really had a replacement for those guys.
Let me ask you this: hockey. Let me give you a hockey trivia in the form of a question. Have the Avs ever won a Stanley Cup without at least one big defenseman?
No, because they had Huey Krupp and Adam Foote in the first Cup run. They had Rob Blake, Ray Bourque, and Adam Foote. And if I were to go back, there was a Gooseroff in the first Cup run who was, as I remember, a little bit physical. If we were to go back and look, again, you got to have some stay-at-home dudes that'll make sure the goalie can see the puck, because you're playing 3-1 games in the Cup playoffs. Like you said, we all need to – I think we knew it at the time, but maybe we didn't fully enjoy it. What the Avs did in that Cup run in 2022 was freaking amazing. It's an all-timer. It's an all-timer how they were able to keep the foot on the gas and run it. You don't score goals in the playoffs the way that Avs team did. But you don't have a Nazem Kadri. You don't have an Andre Burakovsky. You don't have, again, if I were to go back and just look at that forward list, you don't have Aubry Kubel. You don't have Nico Sturm. The Avs aren't even great at winning faceoffs. Here's the problem. One of their best faceoffs, dude, is the new guy, Drury. And he's supposed to be a third-line guy. Well, you got to be able to win some faceoffs on the power play. They get a power play, and they immediately, too often, they're the puck's going out because they don't win the faceoff to just hold the possession there.
Isn't that strange with guys, the amount of players they have that have such great hands and great stick handling ability that they're not a better face-off winning team?
Well, remember, their big guy was JT Compher, another guy that's not on this team anymore that was on that 2022 team. Mikko would win some face-offs. Now, that's where, unless Nate just shows some sort of facing off ability, and I haven't seen him in there too much. I don't know, Scotty, I don't know, but I do think they better get some chemistry going here in the next month. That's all I know. And maybe this will all be fine. Maybe this is the dog days of the season and one cold city after another, and everyone's sick of the road, just like you can probably relate to with the Nuggets. I get all that. I know fans don't necessarily. But I get the players, it becomes monotonous and whatever. But, dude, they just don't, again, a lot of really good possessions. But and again, maybe these good possessions, maybe it's an overreaction here on, January 28th? Maybe these good possessions start producing a whole bunch of goals, and we'll all wonder what we were worried about here in about a month. But
well, I think there is a process, and I do think there is if they were having no good possessions and losing games, you go, but maybe this is a building block. Maybe, as you said a while ago, this is not the same team of 2022. So maybe this is a bit of a building block that you've got, the rest of January, February. When do they take the 2 weeks off? Is that in February?
I think it's coming up here soon. Yeah, remember, February's end of the week, thank God. Boy, it feels like January just don't want to let us go. Every time I look up, it's still January.
Saturday's February 1st.
Thank God, finally.
And an early birthday to our buddy Dave Logan, right? February 2nd. Day.
Groundhog Day, yeah. It's been nothing but Groundhog Day in Denver sports, unfortunately. It feels like for the last month.
Hey, we talk about Broncos. That's what everybody else does.
We will eventually at some point. Hey, let me ask you this. I had ranked my top. So Nate and I were doing our bid. We got a new bid. We're gonna just call it the terrible top five or something of that nature. Just have a little fun with it. Just rank things. Now that we don't have power rankings anymore and everybody likes them on a good Tuesday, got to rank something.
When you say everybody, you mean Nate, right?
No, we had a lot of listeners. I will say, I'm being dead. So we had a lot of listeners that really like the the power rankings. Probably because you know what, Scotty, the Broncos are actually power ranked in them this year. I ranked my 5 worst offenses. My 5. It actually ended up being the 6 worst losses for both the Nuggets and Avs since the season started, and I had 3 each. So you tell me what you think of. Now tonight won't fall into that category.
I can think of 2 for the Nuggets, and that's
my 3 Nuggets. Here, I'll give it to you. My 3 Nuggets were the December loss in Portland by a bucket because that team was terrible and it lost like 14 in a row. It was the Washington loss right after Cleveland, and then last night's loss. But last night's was the 6th one. Look, they've got, they've got who's the player? Zach LaVine. They've got Zach LaVine. You let him go off. You can't let a team rain threes down on you like they did. Frankly, though, what's sad is now the Portland one, I don't quite remember the Portland one. I just remember them losing by. I remember the Nuggets played terrible the whole night and still found some way to almost get a win. But to me, the 2 top worst losses, the Avs lost twice to the dog butt Chicago Blackhawks. Can't be doing that. And then they lost to Minnesota on Martin Luther King Day at home when Minnesota was missing their 2 top defensemen and their top scorer, and Kirill Kaprizov, who may be done for the year. But between the Wizards loss, because the Wizards lost double-digit games coming into that, and they've lost double-digit games since they won.
They lost 14 games in a row or something like that.
And they've been losing ever since that win, too. You let Jordan Poole go off against you. And then for the Avs just to not show up on the 20th, a little over a week ago, you just don't show up in your old building against the alleged rival when you desperately need playoff points to try to get out of this wild card spot. Both these teams, why are these teams so similar, Scotty? It's just odd, dude.
I almost wonder. I don't know. I mean, when you ask that question, it makes you really think.
Is it because here's the thing, the chemistry, and maybe we overrate chemistry. You probably feel that way. I don't know. I haven't talked to you about it.
I think it's huge.
Yeah, I don't feel like either chemist. I don't feel like I felt like the Avs and Nuggets used to be 2 teams that had the best chemistry of any teams I'd covered, period. And both teams they just feel off to me right now. And the Avs felt off before the Miko trade, frankly.
I'll say this. There's 2 ways to look at this because I do think chemistry is huge. That being said, I think you got to look how long guys play with each other. And I think there is still a point where, Al Davis always said a head coach should never coach a team in the NFL more than 10 years. After 10 seasons, the message gets stale. And they fired, they got rid of
John Madden.
Flores.
Flores.
After he won, like a year after he
Tom
won
Flores, yeah.
Super Bowl, because he read as at that 10 year. And Flores went on to Seattle and coached a bunch of years. They got rid of Madden after all the success Madden brought back to the Raiders. And I just think when you've got bodies, I mean, McKinnon and Randall McKinnon until 3 days ago had played every single game of Rantan's pro career had been played with Nathan McKinnon. Kel McCarr's in that. I don't know, man. To me, it looks like both teams won a championship, and they haven't found
the hunger,
that extra gear, hunger. I just think I don't think people understand when you win a championship. That's why Kansas City going for 3. Whatever you think about Kansas City, no matter how many great calls they're getting, whatever, to be at that level for 3 years in a row is stupid. For Patrick Mahomes, for the 7 years he's been a starter, being in an AFC Championship game every year he's been a starter is stupid. I mean, Not everybody can do that. But think about this too. What is there a lot of in the NFL? A lot of
Parody.
turnover.
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, you might have the 3 or 4 girl. Chris Jones, I think, has been there for it all. Kelsey's been there, but they've had a lot of turnover, right? Um, and I always look at my time when I came to the Pistons. I came in for the second year, and I felt the team was just. We've been to 2 straight finals. We've been to 4 straight Eastern Conference finals, and I could see the fatigue. And I'm buying them T-shirts and stuff saying "Win Scott a ring" and stuff in the middle of the year because I could just see the fatigue of the grind. This to me reminds me. I'm surprised the Avs. I could see him for a year or two, and I'm gonna tell you what. Don't sleep on all the Nichushkin BS. Um, Not really affecting this, or not, or maybe having more of an effect on this team than anybody really wants to say. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I
And
agree with
then,
you.
and then you got to be honest with you. It's been the same guy delivering the message. How tired is that message now? And that has nothing to do with the quality of the coach. It's just
No.
sometimes a message.
Well, I'm with you, man. And look, I don't want to talk about having to change coaches on either teams because I think they pushed all the right buttons. I think they're both phenomenal coaches. But let's be honest, in most of sports, the NFL, hell, even the NFL lately starts changing. The NFL's not even letting guys get through 1 year, right? If they don't think it's right. But it's in hockey, like you got to remember the Avs got 2 cups and they had 2 different coaches. Remember that? You had Bednar, or not Bednar. Well, you had Bednar too, but they've got 3 cups with 3 different coaches. But
Yeah.
Crawford only got one, then Hartley got the second, right? And Crawford was gone soon after, not too long after the cup.
What was that bet we used to do? We'd have Bo
Hartley. Where our buddy Patrick Watkins would make. Bo Hartley was the Cajun cousin.
He was the southern brother.
Bob Hartley.
Bob Hartley's southern brother. Bo.
He would call him Hedge Duck. We got Hedge Duck out there doing God knows what out of it. And then he was almost like the water boy before the water boy.
Yeah, you know what? I'm almost thinking the water boy. Somebody must have heard that bits and stole it. Bob, come on.
Yeah. I miss those bits.
Or Boomhauer. You know what? Now that I think about it, he might have been trying to do a Boomhauer.
You think so?
Maybe.
What else?
That was about that time, wasn't it?
I wish because this is back in '99 when I got with you guys. And I remember Patrick would do Colin Montgomery based off the stuck up snooty golfer. And the face Patrick would make when he would do the voice for Montgomery, I think the face was almost as funny. He looked constipated as he tried to talk to you in the chair.
You imagine us trying to do now with Twitch and everything?
No.
I guarantee you he'd bring costumes in.
Well, I don't know. Well, I don't know how he would have done Chick McGillicuddy because everybody thought Chick McGillicuddy was legit a person. So I don't know how he would have done it. You just would have turned the camera on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or you would have had to turn the camera it would have had to been like Wilson. You know what I mean? It would have had to just been up high or something.
Yeah, or basically he'd stand there and you get it from his belt down every time. Yeah. You'd have to make it funny like that.
You do something, but it was hell. Half those bits we couldn't do anymore.
Well, that's true.
Janet Jackson flipped a boob out, and we weren't allowed to walk that line so much anymore.
That line used to be thin, and it got real thick real quick, didn't it?
Oh, it did. Yeah, our boy Donnie was in there on nope. Hey, man, when we were trying to say goodbye to you, I remember I was the one to go in charge of the bits, and we wanted to play and say goodbye to you. And I was like, can't do that.
Oh,
Ashley's dial-a-date. We wanted to put Ashley. I don't think we were allowed to do Ashley's dial-a-date.
You know what I was told? I don't know if you watch the show. If he does, he knows we both love him to death. I was told our boy Donnie was part of the big cuts over at iHeart.
Yeah, I know somebody who talked to him. I was talking with an old friend of ours about radio money a couple weeks ago and just the money in radio and how it's I came along at the wrong time, basically. Nate and I have enjoyed some success. I'd like to be in my Hastings and Logan era. No, it's not it. But he said Donnie's doing all right. So
I was told he's back consulting with like Fox.
Yeah, because he's a good radio dude. He's not going to be out of work for long. And plus, now, like you said, he can go be a consultant, not have to grind every day.
Right.
So, all right. What do you do with the
Hey,
Nuggets?
that's two things. One, how much money he must have been making because he got Robin too, and B, how stupid they are.
Who? Fox?
iHeart.
Oh, dude. That's a whole other podcast, my friend. We could rename that one. Dumbass decisions that derailed greatness. Use the stories. If people only knew what could have been, if people only knew what was in the works that didn't happen, you know what that is? You and I could tell about 10 stories of, I was always told, and I know the exact player that was going to sign his rework deal, but I've never been given the green light to say it. But there was a Bronco player in Elway's office ready to sign his rework contract so they could acquire Joe Thomas back in 2015. And I was told Cleveland asked for one more. It was one more pick or one more player. It might have been Shaq Barrett. And the Bronco and Elway just was like, bleep you, and hung up. He was done. He thought they'd had the deal worked out. Cleveland tried one more thing and it killed the deal. But there was a player, the player who needed to rework his deal so they could fit Thomas under the cap was there with the contract ready to sign so the deal could be done at the deadline. Wow. And you and I have got about 15 Broncos or 15 iHeart stories that are about in line with that thing as to what would have been different. The butterfly effect. So, anywho, yeah, man, good. I will tell you, I've been assured. Donnie told a good friend of both of ours, I'm fine. I will be fine. I ain't worried about it at all. We've handled our business, so he's in good shape. So don't worry about Donnie. I don't mean don't give him a call, but he's doing all right. And you know what? Maybe it's the best time to leave LA anyway. Who knows?
That's true.
Nuggets, you've talked a bunch about it. The defense, Scotty, how do you fix the defense?
Get a little eye care. You probably got to swap out about. I don't mean swap out. I mean change the mindset of probably 3, maybe 4 guys. Three guys I thought in that Chicago game really gave a half-hearted effort defensively.
Yeah, well, that factors into Deanna's comment. Deanna wants you to give him a good old boot up the rear end.
There was a great question to the coach of Wisconsin a few years ago. They had, they have little junior sportcasters, and they asked him, "Is it more about technique or effort?" And the coach said, "First of all, I want to say I've been doing this a long time. No one's ever asked that question. That's a great question." He said, "It's all about effort." I had this kid one time who was a great athlete, but not a skilled basketball player. Went on to play Division I soccer. I mean, so I'm talking about a really great athlete, fast, quick, strong. And they weren't the most skilled, and they'd drill the ball off the foot, and they'd, foul on a bad time and stuff like that. But I knew when they were out there that it was effort in motion. If you could put effort in the dictionary under someone playing, it would be this player. And so I finally taught a kid who was way more skilled, and I had to sit down with him. I said, "Listen, you need to play more." Well, I said, "I know I'm in charge of it, but let me just tell you this. Coaches will play people, and this goes for the Avs. This goes for the Nuggets. It goes to the pro level, whether it's high school girls basketball or pro basketball or pro football or any other sport. Coaches put up with mistakes when they're done at 110 miles an hour. It's the guy who doesn't make the mistake who runs out to challenge a three like and walks out there and just sticks a hand up. I was on you guys' show today, and I told Nate, you ever seen a shooter that it bothers somebody walks out with a hand up? That's what coaches do when you're practicing before a game starts. Hey, hey, and that ain't effort. And if you go
Well, you
back,
know what?
if
I
anything
want
you watch it now, you go back and watch that film, you can see it. And I won't even have to call any names, and you can text us on the show next time or whatever.
you leave a comment right here.
Oh, boom, boom, boom.
Oh, they picked it out. Trust me. They picked them out. We were getting texts while you were on the show today. And when you and I chatted, the names that you mentioned came up. So people see it.
Yeah.
I would tell you this. The other thing I thought was really interesting that you talked about, and I told Nate after we hung up with you, you talked about when you go to a gym with no hoops to go through your walkthrough, a ballroom or whatever, and you pretend like you're on a basketball court to go through your walkthrough this time of year. I used to have to coach lacrosse that way. This time of year, especially, we'd get going in mid-January, late January, early February, doing the tryouts, and you get a lot of snow, and you can't be on your field all the time. So you'd go in a basketball gym, which obviously is not as big as a field lacrosse field. And I'd get exactly what you're talking about. You can have guys kind of walk around, but nobody can run full speed. Nobody can, you don't get the habits that way. You can't really D a guy up as well as you'd like to. First off, you're on a slick floor. You don't want someone turning an ankle because they don't have proper gym shoes, because that's not really the sport we're supposed to be playing here, And I just found it interesting. You bring up a great point, Scotty. When you're on the road and you're not in your own gym, you're in these ballrooms just doing these walkthroughs, I do think you fall into bad habits.
Right. Well, and like I said on your show, they practice today, and they're having a shoot around at the Garden tomorrow. Now it turns out we're only about 5 minute drive to the Garden, so it makes it easier. Sometimes when you're staying, it's a 45-minute, 50-minute drive into the Garden. You have an hour shoot around, then a 50, 60-minute drive back. Then it eats up too much a day, and I understand why. And listen, the Nuggets aren't the only team, and I think
No, I get it.
and I
We're
think
not
every coach
calling them
in
out
the
for
NBA.
that, but it's a tough scenario you got to work through.
Yeah, and I would tell you, every coach in the NBA probably hates it. They feel like we got to do something. They used to never have shoot arounds, and the reason they did is because you come to New York and guys would be partying, and you didn't want them to sleep in till 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Get up, go grab a slice of pizza, and then nap till 4, and then catch a bus. So they started shoot arounds, and there's an old quote attributed to Will Chamberlain. Told the coach when he started calling his shoot arounds, he didn't show up. And he said, "Will, we got shoot around." He goes, "Coach, you can give me once a day. You can give me for shoot around, or you can give me for the game. You choose." He said, "All right, we'll see you tonight." Dude, I had to send you a video. I don't think I sent it to you. It was, Kevin Garnett and Bill and Paul Pierce do a
Their podcast.
podcast. Man, they went off on Joker tonight or today, and I don't know how old it was. I don't know when the podcast was. Kevin Garnett's a believer. Kevin Garnett saying, "Dude, this guy's wilt. This guy's wilt." And he's not slow. He can't jump, but he does it at his speed. He's so efficient. They compared him to Sabonis, the Arvidas, the dad, which we only saw in the last really a couple of years that he was playing. By the time Russia let him out of Russia. But you got two guys who are in the Hall of Fame going, listen, he's the best big in the game today. And Paul Pierce goes, he's going to go down as one of the best big that's ever played.
Well,
and listen, you go back from just 3 years ago, right, Andy? And we were doing shows, and everybody's going, "Oh, he's not an MVP," and he can, and all of ESPN. I think the one year that he didn't win it, that Embiid won it, only one ESPN guy voted for Joker. Everyone else had him second or third. And the one guy that voted him was ESPN Europe. And you're like, oh, okay, because he knows, right?
right.
And he's not persuaded and told what to do back in Bristol. But you go from that time when no one wants to believe and everybody was dogging him. You got Kendrick Perkins saying he's a stat pattern. Just stupid stuff that should have disqualified anybody who's supposed to know about basketball. Once you said that, should probably be not allowed to do basketball commentary. To now, you got Hall of Famers going, dude, he's one of the greatest ever played.
Well, because, and I'll say this, I can't tell you Kevin Garnett was ever my favorite player, and I know you really enjoyed him. I told you one time in a post game I had a real bad experience with him, but whatever.
Oh, he could be.
Yeah, he could, but he loves basketball and he knows basketball. You know
Right.
what I mean? I mean, and I
He had
just think,
passion for the game when he played.
well, and I just think a lot of these older dudes they just see more a joker in themselves than some of the younger guys that want to trade jerseys and take pictures together after a gut wrenching loss. You know what I mean? That's why I think some of the other guys like Ant. Ant's old school. I don't love Ant, frankly. He's on Minnesota. I kind of hate Ant, right? Anthony Edwards right now, but I'll give you this. The guy's out there to compete, and he shows it all the time. So
There you went. You know what? You're speaking of that. I had an issue. And I bet you saw it. I don't know if it affects you like it did me. But I think it was Jones of Kansas City and some big guy from Buffalo.
Dawkins, Deion Dawkins, the big
They're
guard.
out laughing and smiling. Doc is out laughing and smiling. They're joking after the game. I'm like, dog, this might be the last chance you ever go this far ever in your career. And this is funny to you?
After a playoff game, that did not hit right.
Yeah,
I'm sure most of both Buffalo wasn't psyched.
That was a little weird to me.
Especially when you've lost to that team now 4 straight times in the playoffs. It's funny because the craziest thing I ever saw as a sideline guy, I want to say it was 2016. Remember when the Broncos lost in 2016 to KC at home? And it was that early November game, but it was a death blow. It was the Trevor Siemian year, Kubiak coaching, and they'd had the game where,
and if they win it, they would have made the playoffs.
No, that was the road game. This was late November, right after Thanksgiving, but the Broncos had gone down and scored, and it was the first time the defense didn't look like the no-fly zone anymore because Kansas City, with Alex Smith at the time, went right back down and scored. And they won the game in overtime. And it was controversial because people were saying Kubiak should have gone for a touchdown and not the field goal and blah, blah, blah. But I remember Aqib Talib, is angry. I'm looking for a post-game interview. For a half second, thought about asking Aqib. He looked as angry as I'd ever seen him. He starts running towards the tunnel, then stops his dead sprint, whips a 180, goes back and exchanged jerseys with a Chief player. And I was like, dude, if they've got Aqib, who is one of the most high competitor guys I'd ever seen, then I give up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I understand once it's over, it's over. Can't ruin your life, but don't tell Josh Allen that when you watch him walk off the field.
Bro, this was 10 minutes after the game. This is post game on the field. And on top of it, I was just like, if you want, I get it. Jerseys are cool, okay? I probably want to do the same thing. I'm not going to act like I wouldn't, but you can't send it down the hall with one of the people. You know what I mean? You can't, maybe in a more private setting, do the jersey thing.
Anyway, what better thing than them people's got to do anyway?
So, I know. It's all right. There's our old guy rant for the evening. Hey, by the way, JJ Watt's now in on just cancel the Pro Bowl. I know you guys had the story about 900 quarterbacks turned down being fill-ins, and Quinn Miners didn't want any part. I don't think guys really want to go deal with Orlando. It's not Hawaii. I try to remind people all the time, the reason why they had the Pro Bowl in Hawaii was they knew guys would take a free trip to Hawaii. Right. They knew nobody would say no to this. Orlando's fine, but come on, these guys could drive to Orlando from any place in the United States they want to. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And now that it's just nothing but track, it's like Battle of the Network Stars, for those that remember that show, Field Day for others, ending with this flag football game. I just don't think guys want to bother. Of course, Josh Allen's not going to go talk a week later. Like, at least you had a better chance of getting the championship game losing quarterback when it was the week after the Super Bowl, because at least they had 3 weeks, 3 weeks to get this thing, get a little of the taste out of their mouth. I'd be shocked if you ever get, now, I don't know. I'm sure Jaden Daniels will go because he probably thinks it's cool because nobody thought they'd be going to the NFC Championship anyway. Man, most of the guys that lose the AFC and NFC championship, they don't want to go be in a media setting a week later.
Yeah, it's a weird thing.
I don't get it. I mean, people watch it, so it is what it is. I don't know why people watch it though.
I don't know. That's a good question. I know I watched it early on, and then it became, I don't know, somebody went there and you didn't blitz, you didn't tackle hard. It became the NBA All Star game. And you know what? I don't really watch the NBA All Star game either. I'll watch the beginning of it, see Joker start. Okay, great, okay, and then I'm out of there. I don't need to watch LeBron throw it off the backboard and dunk and whatever. Okay.
Hey, how about Joker? I laugh because I feel like he was telling the truth when he told the crowd the other night, "Hey, thanks for letting me not go on vacation and sending me to the All-Star game."
Well, I guarantee
you know what we ought to do? We ought to do a campaign to not make Joker go to the All-Star game. That's what we ought to do.
In that joke.
Oh, he'd rather go to Cabo or wherever. I'm sure anywhere but there.
He would like to sleep in, wake up, kiss his kids, and then fall asleep again.
Yeah. And maybe it's someplace warm. Right?
Yeah.
So.
We just had a kid. I mean, you imagine, wouldn't it be nice to have a whole week where I don't have to go anywhere and I can help mama get up with the baby and I can just love and play on my new son?
Hey, man, well, speaking of that, what about this? I'm so sick of hearing about this Four Nations crap. I don't give a damn. I'm glad that Canada, U.S., Sweden, and Finland are all going to get together with their hockey players. Don't you dare. If we lose a guy in this damn tournament, we got enough problems on the Avalanche. I was watching the second intermission interview, and one of the Knights had to bow out of it. You know why? Because he's got to worry about the Knights. Quite honestly, with the way things are going right now, I think that Kale and Nate and all those guys just get away from hockey for whatever it is, a week. Whatever you're doing. Why are you doing this? Why does hockey allow this to happen? Why are you allowing your stars to go risk health for the playoff run?
Everybody will consider you a minor league or an insignificant pro league if you're going to interrupt your season for 2.5 weeks so you can have 4 different countries play hockey.
I know. It's not the Olympics, man.
I don't even like the Olympics, but okay, whatever.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. Like I said, don't you dare get a guy hurt. Don't you dare. We got enough issues that need cleaning up without someone getting hurt playing in this damn thing. And even if they don't check hard or whatever, first off, it's international pride. I'll tell you this: it solved the problem of no one giving a shit about the All-Star games because these guys will care for whatever country.
Well, hold on. You're going to tell me them guys ain't going out there and going to play hard? There's going to be checking.
That's what I mean. There's going to be checking. And even look in hockey, what do you got to block shots. I'm sorry. Guys get on me. Hockey guy gets mad at me all the time, and it's fine. Why are you asking your best players to put their body parts in front of the damn puck, man? We've had 2 guys break feet. We've had, you get concussions. So again, if you're going to play hockey the way they're supposed to play, we may not even get a guy hurt from a check. You may slide from a 100-mile-an-hour slap shot and lose something.
Hey, and to change the subject a little, by the way, shame on the NFL and the Buffalo Bills. Kid gets taken out of a game the week before for a concussion.
Oh, yeah.
And he's playing in this. I know it's a championship game, but you're in for half a first period and you get hit, and now you're out again with a concussion. Shame on the NFL for allowing the Buffalo Bills and this kid to play. Shame on you hypocrites, you liars. And no one's talking about it because, they got the first down. Oh, that wasn't the reception. That was, yeah. I thought you were about player safety. No, I mean, yes.
Hey, man, the guy had to be helped to the ambulance. No, you weren't. What were you doing? They said after he had to be helped to Tracy Wolfson, I want to say, reported that he had to be helped to the ambulance.
And you let him play.
Yeah. Oh, come on. You knew it would go down this way. Look, man, at some point, they're just going to put in the contracts, we're not responsible for your brain, and that'll be that. So
Well,
here, Daniel's asking again. We got into this again, but here we go.
no.
Do we have an Avs? Do we have a Bedsy problem? Do we have a Malone problem? Look, man, Daniel, if things don't get going right, everything's going to be up for discussion. You know,
I repeat what I've always said: if you're having to make a guy who you've decided to pay $20 million or $30 million or $2 million to play a kid's game, a sport, and you're not getting the effort from them guys, that ain't a coach problem. If at the pro level you have to motivate guys to play hard, you got the wrong guys. Now, I'm not saying you won't have the wrong coach too. Maybe you do, but if the job of a coach is to motivate guys at the pro level, there's something wrong with them guys.
well, and I would also go on to say this right now, Daniel. I think you got a roster problem. The Nuggets don't have a big man that they trust putting in there when Nikola comes out. Period.
Well, listen, you don't have shooting. Who are you probably quote to quote supposed to be your best 3-point shooters? And I'll help you out. MPJ, Jamal Murray, and Julian Strawther. They were combined yesterday 3 for 18.
Yeah, can't have that.
So there's your best shooters.
And when it comes to the Avs, I don't think you have enough big bodies put in front of the net. I don't think you have enough. I think you need at least, if not two, one more big defenseman to move some people. I mean, again, the Avs are going to be in search of size at the deadline, would be my guess, the same way they were a year ago when they got Duhaime and Trennan.
But as you say, you've been saying that for 2 years. And
they
really done a whole lot.
Remember, they acquired those guys. If you remember in the Dallas series and in Winnipeg, Duhaime, Trennan, and Kiviranta all actually had an effect on the game as a fourth line. And they were big bodies, and they wore some dudes down. But again, you better accept you're going to need a few of those. Not everybody can be the greatest puck handler or skater. Because guess what? The Islanders weren't full of those guys tonight. Who got the 5-2 win? Won the Avs. So I'm just saying, Bedsy can only coach what he's got on the bench. Right now, I don't think he's got enough big defensemen to put out there. Now, when it comes, Bedsy and Malone, I guess, probably don't escape full criticism. I'm not saying that they're both still perfect, but they did coach you to championships. They don't just become dummies 2 years later. The coaches haven't changed. The rosters have. So what are you going to do about it?
Yeah, I didn't see Malone go 3 of 18.
Yeah,
I didn't see Bednar get pushed out of the crease and give away a rebound.
Yeah, go look at the third goal where first off, it looks like Sam Girard doesn't know who his guy is because he's standing right next to the goaltender that's 2 feet taller than he is. And then when he finally finds his dude on the crease, he gets shoved off by the guy and can't do anything about moving him out of the way as the guy just fires from point blank range on the goalie. And Blackwood has been great since he got here. Wasn't necessarily great tonight, but has been great since he got here. But again, I know that people love Sam Girard and the Tornado and his cute dog and all that stuff, and that's fine. I'm sure the guy personally is a great guy to hang out with, or who knows. But all I know is me as a hockey guy, I need some meat back there. I need some beef, and there ain't enough. And frankly, now to go back to the Nuggets, you got to have some tall dudes to rebound. That ain't changed in the NBA in forever. And Malone's tried every lineup he can think of to try to get this to work, and just stuff ain't working. So I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what else he can do.
Yeah.
And again, this doesn't all fall on the GMs either. The GMs are giving the coaches the guy they want to play. It's a collective thing. But right now, the formula for both teams ain't right the way it was 2-3 years ago.
The guy you lost to tonight was a coach here, and he didn't like going small and fast. He wanted size, and that's why he left.
Well, what's funny is they're saying the Avs may try to acquire one of the guys that scored a goal tonight because they need another big center. Because, again, Casey Middlestat, they thought was going to be it, and frankly started the year out well, but he's been in the doghouse a bunch lately. So if you really you go and get Sean Walker last year, and you give up some draft picks and stuff. Now Sean Walker's gone. You went and got Duhaime and Trennan. Trennan scored a huge goal against you in the Minnesota thing, the win a week ago. So yeah, it's frustrating as hell, frankly.
I think the Avs actually frustrate you more than the Broncos.
Yeah, they do. I told you. Yeah, of course they do. Because again, look, the Avs and the Nuggets are different than the Broncos for this reason. You aren't going to find guys at the key positions like they do, okay? Joker is a control the game player. I don't know you're ever going to have another one of them because you really didn't have one of those till he showed up, okay?
Right.
And think about how you got him. Frankly, with a lot of luck in the second round that nobody seemed to know about this guy, okay? The Avs have the best core group of players since my days, since the early Av days when they were going to the Cup and in the conference finals all the time. So there is a stress that you don't waste that. Scotty, I felt this, the way I feel about the Avs and Nuggets now was the exact way that I felt about the Broncos in 2015. The defense was too good, and you still had a Hall of Fame quarterback on the roster to piss away a chance at a Super Bowl like that. And believe me, every time I went to the stadium in 2015, I wondered, is this the week the offense bleeps us?
Yeah, all year too, I was just the opposite because the Broncos to me are like the Avs to you. For some reason, that's the team I just want to cheer for, and I get mad and upset, and then I take it to the radio, and everybody, oh, well, you just don't like. No, I'm a bigger fan than you, and I'm honest. But I'm like you with that when it comes to that, and getting a win is great. Sustaining a win is different. The most disappointing thing for the Avs and the Nuggets since winning a championship, and neither one of them been back to at least the conference finals.
Well,
Scotty, if it's got to a conference final and maybe got beat, you'd go, okay. And maybe this is the year. Maybe if both the Avs and Nuggets don't make it to at least a conference final, then maybe we start looking at this being, they let the window close on them.
Well, I'm going to say, I'm not afraid to say it. Now, I think the Avs need to go through the metamorphosis that they went through in 2013 when they went from offensive team to defensive team in 2015. The Avs maybe have to do some of that because I think looking back on it now, with the way the cap has not grown as fast as the NHL seems to promise that it would, it just hasn't. It's regret. You missed a chance in whatever it was, 2021 or whatever it was, 2021, where you got knocked out by Vegas the year that the puck went off Grubauer's butt. You dominated everybody up to that point, and then you lose to Vegas in 4 straight after you went up 1-0, right? Or whatever it was. But that was the year you should have got another cup because Mikko was cheap, Kale was cheap, McKinnon was cheap compared to what they are today. You just gotten Tays. You had you had Grubauer, you had Burakovsky still, you had some players. Okay. I think Nas was even still on that team.
Eric Johnson.
You had Eric Johnson. You had Gabe Landeskog. I think you still had Val Nichushkin. But the bottom line was you could afford the roster that now we found out this week you can't afford this roster. And frankly, if we're being honest about it, the Nuggets' problems are because they can't necessarily afford their roster. Okay. Yep. They can afford their core 4. They can't afford anything else around it because of the dumb NBA cap rules. So, yeah, man, it's, and look, when you tell me why, I love the Broncos with my heart and soul, but just like you with the Nuggets, when I need to know what's going on with the Nuggets, you give me the straight poop and I understand things better. When I got plenty of people still to tell me what's actually going on with the Broncos, and it's very hard to get upset when you understand what's what. So the Avs, I don't have a lot of people to tell me what exactly is going on in that dressing room. So yes, it frustrates me. I love the hell out of the Avs. I hated the years that we were so, it's the same thing with the Nuggets. These two franchises went through some of the most dog butt years. You were the commentator for them. I have to tell you,
yeah.
Where you were just lucky to try to get to the playoffs, where there were you were just hoping to win 40, 40-40 or whatever.
Yeah, just try to get to 500.
So anyway, man, it's, it's what it is, dude.
We'll talk about it later, but I think you may. I just have a feeling there's going to be a tough year for CU next year.
Yeah, I think so. Again, another program where I know a little more than most people. And hey, this year was a lot of fun, and it did surprise me. I'll put it that way. I was very pleasantly surprised what I got to enjoy this year. So,
good.
All right.
Good.
What's that? You're going to sleep?
Yeah, dude. Look
I know
up.
it's 11:30 there.
Dark outside, about dark 30.
All right, Zero Dark 30. You have a good night there, Irene. Tell everyone good evening, and we'll do this. Now, what again, you're back next week finally? Do we go back to Wednesday next week?
I'm back
9 o'clock?
Next week, and then leave town Friday.
Okay, Wednesday, 9 o'clock. We'll do it.
All right.
Good night, all.